This is ChristLife channel. We produce deep spiritual content that will bless you and keep you updated in the spirit. Please subscribe.
Saved men that are holy and consecrated unto God, saved men that have refused to be holy. So they are saved. We have the same titles. Oh, brother this, sister that, pastor this, pastor that. But when we check their secret lives, we find out that there is another government there. They are not totally separated unto God. I was teaching somewhere, and parents, after the meeting, began to reach out to say, some of the things you speak about are hard. I told them that if your child comes to you now, your child, you know there are parents, there are many of us that are parents here. You see us praying in tongues and Beru Vakai. Me and my children, we are for you, Lord. We are for you. Let the child, after studying medicine, come now and say, God has told me to go and waste my life in Zamfara. The same children that they taught in morning devotion that God is ultimate and he can do with you as he pleases. Let the child come now after studying medicine for 7 years. And after morning devotion in the morning, he drops the certificate and says, Daddy, Mommy, I want to thank you for training me. God bless you. But the certificate is yours. God has told me to go and waste my life in Pakistan. All I need is visa. I assure you, some parents who speak in tongues will say, my enemies are at it. This child wants to disgrace all my investment. So even those of us who claim to know God, secretly in our heart, if God demands all, we will not give. We will not give. If, as the man of God begins to prophesy tonight, he looks at you and says, shut down your business. Thus says the Lord. And go and be a missionary in Sokoto. In some cases, it will be like Isaac. It will be like Abraham and Sarah. That one spouse might decide that, look, that word is not for two of us. After all, when Reverend Austin did his hand like this, it's you he was pointing. He didn't say like this. He pointed to only you. You see, our dealings with God are heavily dependent on the state of our secret lives. God told me that some Christians will never hear his voice because deep down in their hearts, they are not willing to obey what he says. When he begins to come and give instructions, commands, and to make demands on our lives, we will not obey. So why waste your pearls before swine? Why begin to speak to ears that will only hear but will never do? Can God send you to die? Can God ask you never to marry? You know, I don't know. This is not what I plan to do. This is not what I plan to do. Sometimes I ask myself, why do you always make me go and say things that will put me in trouble? This is not what I plan to do. Can God ask you, young lady, do not marry? So you heard that? The lady cried out. She said, Jesus. And you see, brethren, I have found out that God may not demand these things from everyone. He will come to the ones that he loves the most. Did you not read the story of Job? My sister, have you read Job? From chapter 1 to the end? What a story. What a story. I read about Job. I read it weeping. I stained my Bible with tears. How does a man's problem begin? Because God is proud of him. What kind of thing is this? I was sitting on my own. I didn't ask you to bless me. You blessed me. You blessed me. I'm doing well. I'm honoring you. His children will go and do party. Job will wake up early hours of the morning with a sacrifice. He will go to the altar and say, I do not know. I was not there. But it's possible in their celebrations they sinned against you. Lord, have mercy. He was a priest that understood priesthood. He was sitting on his own. Didn't ask for anything. God prospered the work of his hands. He became a blessing. Stay. I told you, in the intensity of God's presence, we hit this place and people will be overwhelmed. Just stay. And then Satan appears in the council meeting. Go and read it. It's not Satan that asked about Job. Satan came and God looked at him and said, Oga, you come meeting? I say, yes. Where have you been? I've been roaming to and fro there. I say, you went to the earth? It means that you must have seen my servant Job. But I didn't just want you to see him. Have you considered? You know when you come to church and say, Lord, I love you. God is saying you. You like this. If I love you the way you want me to love you. It was God. God was so proud of Job. He took an entire man's life and just wanted to use that man to prove a point. Dear brother, can God use you to prove a point? It was through the life of Job, Reverend J, that God proved that a man can love him for nothing. You know, your love oscillates. It's high when your bank alerts are high. Your love for him increases when he answers all your prayers. I've been praying certain prayers for 10 years. The window has not opened. I've not even seen the ray of light. But I get up again and I continue to labor. The reason I have confidence to continue is that he has shown me some things prophetically. I've seen pictures. So I know his heart. He wants to give it to me. But the reason he has not given, I don't know. So I continue to pray. Sometimes I'm lying down. The place I'm lying is soaked with my own tears. But I keep praying. I don't know the person behind there. The reason your Christian life became crippled is because you thought that God refused to answer a prayer. And Satan took occasion of your faith waning and he entered your space. And now you can't recognize yourself again. This is not what you were like when you began with Jesus. What has happened to you? How did you become this thing? This thing, how did you become it? Took a grown man's life just because he was proud of him. You see, bro, I kneel before the Lord and I tell him, can you boast about me like you did about Job? God was not boasting about Job to men. He was boasting about Job to Satan. To Satan. You see, I don't want to be one of those preachers that works miracles, that moves in signs and wonders. And then when I stand before the Lord, he says, I never knew you. We never had anything. There was nothing intimate between us. You are a fraud. I don't want to be that man. So as long as I have breath, I have read too many books, studied too much of the Bible to see that living men found God. God will never give us all of himself on this realm. It's until we move to the other side we will see him as he is. But there are dimensions of himself he has made available to a generation. How much of your portion have you secured?
Thanks for watching ChristLife channel. Subscribe, click on the like button, and share it to your loved ones.